Good morning, everyone joining us today. We are going to be talking about CV and caffeine. I've just been having a great conversation with Logan and Teri, and it's going to be awesome. So what we're focusing on today is the defense panel. And for anyone out there that is new to career visioning, to maybe your role in KW, they do a fabulous job with the KPA package. So once you have someone take their KPA, it's all in here. The questions you need to ask, it's almost idiot proof. It sets the stage, but what it doesn't tell you is when you're creating the defense panel, who do you pick? What is it all about? It gives you a guide, but we're going to talk about the who and why to do it. Today, we've got Logan and Teri joining us. So I'm going to turn it over to them to let them introduce themselves, and we're going to start the conversation. Logan, why don't you go ahead and start for us?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. Honored to be on here. Hope to help. My name's Logan Webster. I've been with Keller Williams for about 10 years. I've been a team leader for the last five since 2020. Prior to that, I was an MCA with the same market center from 2015 to 2020. And this place has changed my life. This class, this course, all of it has changed my life. So I'm pretty passionate about it.
Awesome.
And I'm Teri Brenkus. I've been with KW since 1998, so I stopped counting after 25 years. And excuse me. And I was with another company prior to that and earning over $1 million a year and working 80 hours a week. And I wanted to get out of real estate. I hated real estate. And they recruited us over to Keller Williams, and I think it was a very small company back in 98. And I think there were 12 agents in our area in Las Vegas. And I was like, okay, we'll go. It was my husband Rick's idea to go to KW. And I said, okay, well, we're going to get out of the business because I'm an accounting major and they have open books and they were losing money. So it was like, great, we're getting out of the business. And needless to say, a couple months later, they invited me to Austin to a mastermind. And from there, following the CV process, I went from working 80 hours a week, making $1 million, to working 20 hours a week, making $3 million. So that's what this material did for me. And that's why I became an instructor, and I am passionate about this material. I teach it twice a year in my market center and have really made a difference. This material that Gary has gifted us has really made a difference in many, many lives with our agents of how to grow a team, how to grow a business, going from a real estate agent individual into a company, an organization of high-minded people. So, and how to get that cultural fit. It's a lot of material. And Gary always told us to go at least 10 times. And so I encourage people to go again and again, at least once a year. You'll always learn something. You'll hear something that you didn't hear before.
Great
So I'm
point.
really passionate about this material.
So let's just talk about how do you even start to create a defense panel? Where do you look for the people for your defense panel? Is it always the same people? Let's dig into some of that, and good stories and not so great success stories. Why don't you go ahead and start, Teri?
Well, when I'd hire people, I'd hire them right on the spot and not get anyone's input. And then I learned about, I guess teaching an old dog new tricks is kind of difficult. And it was so complicated because I'd have the book, the class, and then I'd have the disc back in the day. And now KPA just makes it so easy. All you need to do is have their KPA, and it just gives you step by step. It's just really dummy proof. And it's amazing. And the reason you have a defense panel is because you want someone to point out your blind spots. That's really important. What am I missing? What am I not seeing, or what am I ignoring? That's right there. Because I'm in a desperate state to hire someone maybe. And also, if you have a team, you want buy-in, and we all have a team. Even if you're an individual, you might have an escrow officer on your team, or a lender, or an inspector, and those could be your defense people if you don't have a team already in place. And it's really important to get their perspective and to get their buy-in. Just by asking and giving them a voice and creating that space for them to be honest and transparent, buy-in is very important. So they're behind your candidate if you happen to choose that individual. So I don't know if that answered your question, Angela.
Yeah. Logan, how about you?
Yeah, there's everything that Teri just said, especially there's so many benefits to doing it. It's very easy to skip because at this point you're so involved, right? You've called their references, you've talked to people, you've taken them through everything, and you're like, yeah, this is perfect,
You
right?
love them.
I'm ready to rock and roll. I think it says verbatim in my KPA that I ignore red flags. So I need people to say like, hey, what about this, right? But including, whether you want to call them your stakeholders, your partners, we talk a lot in leadership about, it's always we do this. And Gary talks about we go versus me go, all that fun stuff. But when you're involving them in this process, it really is a we thing. And they feel like they're a part of all of it. Their opinion matters. They're heard. They're listened to. So there's the benefit there. But then on the other side of that, there's the benefit of you really may have missed something because unless you have figured this thing out with the gatekeepers of getting people to where you're at with that KPA, this may be the fifth one you're on for this one position. And you finally found somebody that you're in love with, right? So you really start ignoring some things. So it's very, very, very important to have this piece and not skip over it, not go outside the system.
And how do you prep your panel for this meeting? And is it like, is it an hour? Is it a couple days? Do you give them the panel homework? Like, talk us through what you found best practices to prep the panel to be effective.
Well, I think you need to give them all the material at least a day before. So they have time to digest it instead of just kind of springing it on them, and it makes the meeting way more efficient. And I think it's also, it'd be great to have a meeting with all the individuals, the defense panel at once, because then they can hear each other. And if you can't get them all together at once, it is important to have at least 3 people that look at the material, not just one. Not only people on your team, but someone that is unbiased, and it doesn't necessarily impact them to pick the right person. It's nice to have that person that's unbiased, and usually that's what we call the black, or what Gary calls the black hat. And this is in the CV material, and it breaks it down. You want someone that focuses on, are they a cultural fit? So you give someone maybe that is intuitive, how are they a cultural fit? Why would they be a cultural fit, or why would they not be a cultural fit? How is that going to show up and impact our culture? The black hat looks for, what concerns are there? Why would this person fail? And why would they leave? So is there a possibility, if this person was to leave in a year and they're nailing it, what would be the reason you think they would leave? So you're kind of looking into the crystal ball,
right,
through these people's eyes and input. And Gary breaks it down step by step. Every individual you need the white hat, the red hat, the black hat, the yellow hat, the green hat. I think there's a blue hat. And it breaks it down, and I still follow the material and pull those people in, and it's verbatim what's in the KPA.
Yeah, one thing I would add on to that is I think it talks about, and like if you print out the packet, it actually says a devil's advocate, if you will. And then devil's advocate is good, but you don't need the devil, right? So you want somebody to play defense, but you don't need somebody who's going to just come in and shred. And I think from my personal experience, having somebody who this really doesn't impact, they're even almost outside of my organization, maybe from somewhere else, but they have experience with doing this. They've maybe done it before in the past. We're lucky inside of this corporation that we have this taught by people like Teri all up and down and around our entire company. So most people, or a lot of people, if you will, have come across it. So somebody that has that experience to be able to do it. But yeah, I've ranged between 2 to 5 of the people that it's going to impact. Sometimes I've had 2, sometimes I've had 5. And then one of the black hat or the devil's advocate from there. And to her point, like sitting down with all of them together That's the best way to do it, hands down. One-on-one, it can become, things can become jumbled, and it's a lot for you to keep up with. We don't have all that kind of time.
Yes.
You
It is
both
nice to have
reference
them.
you both reference giving them all the information. And just to be clear, we're talking about not just the KPA printout, but you're talking about the thought process, your notes from that, the references, their life story, the motivational interview, all of that, which kind of puts a lot of pressure on you so that you document everything. It's legible, it's understandable so that you can pass it off because and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the last thing you want to do is just tell your defense panel all about this person because of course you're going to highlight everything that you love. You really need, as Logan said, have them play the devil's advocate.
Yes, you definitely don't want to. That's why I like getting it at least 24 hours in advance.
Yeah.
So they have time to not have my influence, convince them this is the right person, get them the whole packet, the job, like you had mentioned, the job description. We take pictures of the flip charts
Oh,
of
great.
the life story and the motivational interview, and everyone gets that up front in the package. They get the whole package. And then we go through it together as a group. The first package is, the job fit. Are they a job fit for that? And what is the interview? What were the notes from the screening interview? What were the notes from the life story and the motivational interview? The motivational interview is very important because we can see, is our world going to provide them what they want in their life? And that's our job description. As when you hire a candidate, when you bring someone into your world, in 5 years, are they able to accomplish what they want in your world? So I think that's our job description to carry that out.
Logan, were you going to add something to that?
The only thing I would say is, and I think you might have actually mentioned this, Teri, is including the job description for whatever we're hiring them for whenever we're giving them this packet. And when these individuals that we're bringing in, be it our partners that currently work with us or the person that's outside that's being objective, they know us. Because if I'm hiring this individual to fill a role inside of our world, right, they're going to know what my strengths are, different things like that, and how I can play off with this person, right? So I think, again, if we're working closely, be it a real estate team, be it a leadership thing, whatever it is, and you're working closely with the individuals inside of your business and they know you, they know your strengths, your weaknesses, and everything else, that's going to be key for them when they're looking at this individual, getting all your notes and understanding what their strengths are and how we can play off of each other.
And I think it's real important to have the team leaders understand that you're supposed to be consulting your top 20%. And your top 20%, most of them, I would assume, want to grow a team. They want to go to that next level. And if you don't know this material and try to master this material, how are you consulting them? Because this is really about, it's a who that's missing in their world, right? And to help them get to that next level, it's the CV process. So team leaders out there really need to work on mastering this information. So yeah, I think this is the defense panel is your team leader. If you're an agent, your team leader should be, I would recommend that you have them on your defense panel. And also I think it's also important before you even start searching for candidates is to know what are you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
And you do that up front and have them take notes that whoever's going to be on your defense panel, you should maybe have a pre-defense panel to go over, here's who I'm looking for, here's what I'm looking for, because then they're going to hold you accountable. Well, a month ago, you said this is what you wanted, and how is this person lining up with what you said in the beginning? So I think it's real important to do that up front with them.
I think that's a great point, is prepping them, grooming the defense panel, and holding you accountable to what you're looking to hire. You both have the advantage of having been with Keller Williams for so long. And so now you're kind of the experts at doing this. Take us back some years to when you first started doing defense panels. What pitfalls did you fall into? Did you ever ignore your defense panel and hired somebody anyway? Was your defense panel afraid to tell you they didn't like someone? Walk us through some like really vulnerable moments of in the beginning.
Well, I'm still vulnerable and I'm still making mistakes, and I'm not a master of this material. That's why I teach it, because I want to learn it. And I feel like I still have so much more to grow and learn from going through this process. And the defense panel they trust me. I'll just go ahead and hire this person. And it didn't go very well, where they kind of just ostracized that individual from the team, because it was, I had every excuse in the world as to why to shortcut this, and it just didn't pay off. So I had a funny story. My team leader actually he's been to the class, and he thought the defense panel was where the candidate had to come in and defend themselves. It was
And you can
very
see how that's, I mean, that makes logical sense if you're not from the KW ecosystem. Yeah.
It was, and luckily she was highly assertive. So she said she loved it and she was really good. But yeah, that was a funny story. So it is a work in progress, and it's sometimes the defense panel. What I did in the past is I would go in and present instead of having them investigate. And I'm a pretty good salesperson. And so they're like, okay, sounds good. We don't have to do any work. And you're taking that opportunity, or I had taken that opportunity for them to grow. So, and then another mistake I made was where I wanted to line up someone that is naturally a black hat. So it was easy for them to be a black hat, someone that was super organized, to put them in that role as to, are they going to be a fit? Does this match? And what I've learned is to put someone that's maybe super optimistic and ask them to put on their black hat to help them grow. So it's also to help your teammates grow into going through this process and learning the importance of it.
That's huge. And that's a great perspective, because most people, I would think, they're just looking at it as a silo, that the defense panel is there to help you hire this candidate or not. And that's a great perspective. If you're helping the defense panel learn more about the process and just a different way to approach things. It's awesome. Logan, how about you? Take us back to the younger self.
Yeah, I don't know how long we have, but there's a ton of mistakes. To think back at the very beginning, whenever we first started the whole CV process, I'll never forget the first person I took through it. I had the defense panel, and instead of just going in, like she said, and hearing them tell me about it, I kind of presented, well, then when they started defending, then I got defensive. So then them as a group, the MCA, or not the MCA at the time, that was our front desk, she came to me and she said, how are we supposed to do this if you don't listen to anything that we say? And I was like, all right, it's a good point. Good point. So you kind of have to take that armor off, because like we talked about earlier, you've built a relationship with this individual by now. You've spent, I mean, collectively, it could be 4 or 5 hours together by this point.
Yes.
So there's, that part was really, really big for me. And then number two was just skipping it altogether. I had made that mistake more than once. And I don't care if you want to pull out the MREA. I don't care if you want to pull out this. Anytime I step out of a system that we have and try to make it my own, try to get super creative, it fails. Every single time it does. So those are probably the two biggest mistakes that I can think of.
Did you ever take anyone through this process as an MCA? And then if so, how was that different than when you took them through as the team leader?
Yeah, absolutely. So we kind of had a rule of thumb, and I've been very fortunate to have a lot of good leaders in our region and in our world to teach me a lot about this whole process. If this person is going to be a direct report to you inside of our organization, you're doing their KPA, because it does me zero service to do it for them on your behalf. and then
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, yeah, this is the person you actually talk to. There is such a relationship built through this process that you can't duplicate it. You
Mm-hmm.
can't make it from something else. Like when you're taking somebody through the motivational interview, or you're taking somebody, especially through their life story. For those of you that are watching this that have done this numerous times, I mean, make sure you have some tissues or something else whenever you're going through somebody's life story, because I mean, it's a breakdown, right? And so you get so close. So from the time of doing that, then as an MCA, the biggest at that time, I was doing it with our front desk. I was doing it with our agent services and people of that sort. Whenever I got into the team leader role, I was doing it more with real estate agents, with an MCA, and with other aspects inside of our business. And to Teri's point, we do have agents that when they get to that point, they want to bring me in. So speaking to all the team leaders out there, this is where we add massive value to the top agents inside of our company. We may not be out there teaching it or any of that fun kind of stuff like Teri, and I know her class is wonderful, and we know more about it than they do more often than not. We've been around it more often than not because they're busy. They're going 100 miles an hour. This is a part of our job and how we add value as a market center.
Awesome. For all of the KW Talent members out there that are watching and joining us today, this entire series that we do, CV and Caffeine on Thursdays, every aspect of it, role playing can help tremendously to fine tune your skills, to work with somebody else before you have to do it like for real. And we always suggest to our KW Talent members, jump into the member portal, start a role playing group where you meet once a month, once a week. There's people of all different roles in KW Talent. And so to get people that are maybe a MAPS coach and a team leader and an agent all to role play, you get really different perspectives on doing this. And Logan, I want to touch on one of the things you said. I think the key in all of this is just don't take it personally, right? Like nobody's ganging up on you on the defense. They're just, as Teri said, holding you accountable to the process.
But that was one of the hardest things for me from CV from the beginning. And Teri, you would probably scold me if you watched me do one at the very beginning, because they're telling me something through whether I'm validating their KPI and I'm smiling and nodding and just relating with them. I'm like, yeah, I had that happen too. And like, it's hard to kind of hold your cards close to your chest while you're taking somebody through this and not get so emotionally involved. But it's also very important to be able to do that. And that, to your point, comes from practice and time on task over time.
So if I were
Absolutely.
to ask you for your mic drop recommendation, your mic drop advice to everybody that's watching, whether it's an agent just starting out, another team leader, an operating partner, a coach, or a CV instructor, what are your last words of wisdom to bestow on everyone?
No one succeeds alone. And if you want to succeed at a super high level, getting the right people into your world is paramount. I mean, it's the most important thing that we all need to be constantly working on. And this is, Gary's gift to us as far as the material that he went from an individual real estate agent to the owner of the largest real estate company in the world. So this is his roadmap. This is how he did it. This is really the playbook. And mastering it takes time. Give yourself grace and just go to classes, lean into it, and make it your one thing almost, that if I got really good at this, my whole life will change, and
Right.
I'll be able to impact other people's lives at a very high level.
That's awesome. No, that's perfect. I think that most of us are hardwired to see upside, especially if we're in this business. So we seem to be very optimistic a lot of the times, and it's skipping the defense, if you will, is skipping out on the accountability.
Mhm.
This is because the people that are going to be on our defense panel are the ones that we're responsible for in some way, shape, or form. We're responsible for creating those lives. To Teri's point earlier, can they look inside of this and see a world big enough for themselves? And we have to create that world, right? So again, I think by skipping this, you're only hurting yourself. You're only cheating yourself. And well, you are cheating yourself, but you're also cheating your business and all the other people involved in it.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for your time. I'll make sure you get this recording, and this recording will be sent out to everyone. And we hope to see you again, joining us again on CV Caffeine.